I remember you sitting down when you were, it was kind of a supervision thing. I was talking about a case with you and you were exacerbated with me. You finally were like, Mollie, do you want to be a smart coach or do you want to be an effective coach? And
that's
it
really
was
smart, actually. Yeah, that is. Whoever said that, it's genius. So, Mollie and I have been working together for, what is it, like 7 years, 8 years, 10 years? What is it now?
I was 23 when I met you. I'm 38 now.
And I was like 25, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think, yeah, that's what we're going to say, you know?
Great.
Yeah, good. And Laura, you should actually. We can do that. We can actually do that. Feel free to
This is a very unstructured conversation. Actually, this should be called unstructured conversation.
Yeah, I called it misdirection. That's what we're calling this because I thought that's a cool name. Don't you like that?
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
Too,
sure.
Right? Yeah. So Brian came up with something that sucked, so I had to come up with something that was much better. Obviously,
you haven't gotten rid of that who can top who image.
Now I want to take care of Brian.
It's just like who's on top,
who's on better,
right? You know?
Sure.
So, yes, exactly what we set this day up for. So, so how long's it been, sweetheart? Did you say you're 23?
I was 23. Yeah. So something like 15 years, which feels absurd to me. But yeah, you've been my coach for about 15 years.
So Mollie, you will go into kind of all the kind of different developments, different kind of stages, phases, and we can talk about it and talk it back and forth. And I might interrupt, possibly, and you can just say kind of like where it started and what kind of was the initial impetus that had you reach out. When someone asked me like, well, what is it that has people reach out and ask for help? I said, it's usually when there's either a health crisis or there's a relationship crisis or there's a financial crisis or a familial crisis, that it's it's not usually at the top of their game, right? That people reach out for help.
Yeah.
Unless they're collaborating on something like, hey, I've got an idea and let's do this and let's create something. But mostly when it's actually something that's really primal, it's usually one of those four things that that hits them. So what was your kind of initial? And I'm not saying there's a crisis point, but what was your initial impetus?
Yeah, it was not a crisis point. I don't know many 23-year-olds who are feeling really great about themselves. I think most of our 20s need to be devoted to a lot of depression and gnashing of teeth. And I was in that.
My 20s.
Yeah, we know.
Okay.
But for the rest of us, we were severely depressed and in a lot of self-doubt, and I certainly was. And my mom had been to a seminar of yours and had said, just go, Mollie, just go. So I went and I dove in. I tend to be pretty committed to stuff that speaks to me, and you absolutely did. It was all baptism by fire. And I think I just brought in all of my relationship crises. And at the time, I was finishing a master's in choral conducting.
Yeah, that's right. That's so crazy.
Right. And you were going like, why are you doing that? And I had some romantic ideas about it, which is, I'm now clear on where those came from.
Are there any well-known choral conductors?
To me, the point was less about being well-known, but about being fulfilled. And I had this loony idea that was going to do it. And you were very clear, like, Mollie, that's not fucking doing it. Stop chasing that. And you actually said to me within the first couple of weeks, shouldn't you think about coaching or something? And I was like, yeah, that's adorable. That's for somebody else.
Just to kind of frame this, I mean, because a lot of times people will confuse therapy with coaching, or they won't know the full difference, right? In a lot of ways, and they're both absolutely essential, I think, and for different reasons at different times, right?
Totally.
And kind of knowing what you need is an essential thing. Like, this time I need kind of like maybe more of a easy emotional context. I need to heal this or get, some familial traumas. But coaching is very much like what you're saying. It's very much directed at like, depending on the coach, of course, like, you're doing the wrong thing, or you need to pivot, or you should be over here, or you should be doing this. So it's got a lot more direction, I think, and engagement. It's much more of a partnership a lot of times. And that's how I feel about my relationships, that they're much more of a partnership and a collaboration than more even like a client coach relationship. But go ahead.
Absolutely.
Isn't that truly what a coach does on the sidelines at a basketball game, or even like isn't that what like football coaches do? Like, aren't they like giving plays and stuff, like telling them when to?
Yeah, no, they're absolutely. Yeah. Melora's right. That's exactly what a coach is doing. They're going, okay, here, sending in the plays, directing the plays. Depending if you're Tom Brady, they're not doing that. He's calling that audibles on the right line of scrimmage because he's a savant.
That's cool.
Right. He's a savant, and he can read things like no one else in the history of the game can. Mm-hmm. He's always articulated. Like, he can see the defense moving. So an audible is like at the line of scrimmage, you're changing the play. When you say hike, it's crazy that someone can do that. Oh. So he just wants you to have more volume.
Oh, sorry.
So that is the difference between coaching. So I want to just talk about that. They're, Melora's right. They're really directing things.
Yeah. And the way I tend to describe the difference to clients now that I've been both a therapist and a coach, it was quite an arc you took me through here, is that therapy is designed to be healing, and coaching simply is designed to be disruptive. So it's a totally different tool. And you disrupt me, you did. You certainly did.
Yeah.
And you shuffled around some relationship stuff and made some direction about that as well. But the biggest change
talk just for a few minutes about just that, the relationship and where you were, because a lot of people have a similar conflict that you had in relationships.
Yeah, I was stuck between two relationships, one whom I was deeply in love with, and the other person I liked the sex with, and was really
I know. I was always like, it's great sex or longevity, right?
Truly,
really, that is the deal.
And the amount of suffering I had in trying to solve this problem and pick the relationship and the intensity and the gravitas, man, I just wanted to kill myself.
Molly, you're so much lighter. My God, it was all head, and you can tell how smart you are and intellectual you are, right? But it had to get you into your heart much more.
Yep. That was certainly the process. So you cleared that up. You actually had me take a break from relationships, which I sort of didn't. But I took a break from the big one, and that was really helpful. And
took a break from longevity.
Yeah, how about that? Sure, let's call it that.
Kept the sex, killed the longevity.
Look, I wanted to sound better in this. I wanted to look a little more composed.
Sure, of course, I understand.
So we were dealing with that, and at the same time, you were saying, stop pretending to be a choral conductor. You need to go coach. And I felt like, look, there wasn't enough credibility around coaching. Sure, you had credibility, but I couldn't. So I felt I needed to go get some education around this. And you said, fine, you want to go pretend to be a therapist for a little bit? Go pretend to be a therapist. So I did, and got hours towards licensure. I'm sure you were laughing at me the whole time, just like checking your watch, waiting for me to be tired. And I dove into the process, and then a few years into it, realized, okay, this is not the right conversation, and finally came to you and said, all right, train me. I'm ready.
And that's not, so people understand, it's not like I have a preference that people coach. Just like I don't have a preference that people, get married and aren't.
No, I was clear. You're hearing what it was in my voice.
It was clear for what your calling was. So if I think someone's more, therapeutically designed, then I'm going to empower and support that. If I think someone's, more something else, then that's what I'm going to get behind.
Right. And it's changed everything. It means I'm no longer biting my tongue in sessions. It means I can be far more like playful and irreverent and intrusive. That was another big piece. Both like my confidence in being willing to be intrusive and knowing that that's a contribution, and my ability to be stupid, my ability to play with not having to promote my intelligence or defend my intelligence or defend my credibility. That's where so much of the oxygen in the work with you has gone. And I remember you sitting down when you were it was kind of a supervision thing. I was talking about a case with you, and you were exacerbated with me. You finally were like, Molly, do you want to be a smart coach or do you want to be an effective coach? And
that's
it
really
was
smart,
like,
actually.
it
Yeah,
was.
that is. Whoever said that, it's genius.
Well, at the time, it felt like you threw a fucking javelin through my heart because you had identified what I thought I was going for, what I needed to be seen as, and what I was protecting, my intelligence.
So
And
let me just talk about,
yeah.
let me just frame this. So the survival system, it puts your attention on a problem you don't have, and then dedicates yourself to solving that problem you never had in the first place. So that is exactly what that, coaching is. He said, oh no, the solution, which is what people do. They, if they have problems, they come up with solutions. The solution is to be smart.
Right.
So you're creating a problem that you don't have, right? Like be smart, when in fact, no, the creative expression is for you to be effective, not smart. Right. So understanding like that people are doing that all day long.
And it hadn't dawned on me
they were in the wrong place, and they're dedicating themselves to the wrong places, and then wondering how come shit's not working out the way they want it to work out.
And what I hadn't seen is that my need to be seen as smart and promote my intelligence was what was robbing me of being effective.
Yeah, beautiful.
I hadn't put that together. But I don't know if I told you this, but shortly after we had that conversation, I had a client come in to see me she was doing a lot of reassurance seeking. And she was someone that I was set up to be smart for, to like have all of my answers and my data and and so she was asking for a lot of reassurance. I was really threatened by her, so I was going to be very intelligent. I was very much in survival. And she was seeking reassurance. She was asking questions that I was giving her answers. I was aware, like, is this doing it? Is this helpful? Is this what she needs? And then it hit me, what she actually needs is me to say, I don't know. Can we just tolerate the fact that neither of us know? Can we tolerate the anxiety of you not fucking knowing? And that was my own light bulb moment too of, oh, this is what he means. Effective rather than smart. Because I can give her all the answers. It's not going to transform anything. But we can tolerate the anxiety together. We can explore that. And that has a bit of a therapeutic twist to it as well. And that's actually the work here. That actually is effective.
Yeah, that's so great. That's such a great observation and a great illustration of how the work operates and how it's worked in you. One of the things that I've said, there's just no accounting for the human spirit. I mean, that's just something that I can't deliver on. People have that or they don't have that, their ability to get up every day and see the light and find their way. And you so much have had, and I feel this in lots of the people that I work with, you are so heroic in your ability to introduce new expressions, change, pivot, dramatic pivots, right? Commit to things, move like geographically, all sorts of things that have been such game changers for you. And now that you have a young boy, not a newborn, he's like now, walking and talking, right?
Yeah,
and
2.5.
Yeah. But that's been there forever, right? Even in the face of the traumas that you've had and the difficulties you've had, the challenges you've had, right? And people think like, because, you have such advantages in terms of having, two celebrities as parents, right? And one significant celebrity as a parent, right? So people think, oh my God, all those advantages. Yeah, well, they don't go behind the scenes and look at all the disadvantages that are required and the traumas, because you're not allowed to talk about that when you're wealthy or you're beautiful or you're creative. You can't talk about the difficulties,
Right.
You're just not allowed to, because the culture is like, well, you don't have anything to complain about, right? When in fact, that's been heroic. And so... And this is where I want to...
Are you going to tell us who her celebrity parents are, or is she going to tell us?
You can. Go ahead.
My mom did the Family Ties in the 80s. She was the mom on the show, Meredith Baxter, and my dad did theater.
Yeah.
And your dad did theater?
Mostly Shakespeare. So Breck and I disagree. I'm quick to go like, she's not a celebrity. She was in this period, but not in. I'm quick
she still is. I mean, I think she's.
Yeah, I would say
she was really, really famous.
Yeah, she was really famous at one point. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
right.
I think people still know who she is.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's an extraordinary person too. And so.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that it's an advantageous background. That's what it looks like, but. We know behind the scenes of the things you had to deal with, not with your mother so much as with your father, right? And so I'm saying it, you're not, the contractual cultural conspiracies, if you're beautiful, if you're smart, if you've got advantage, you're not allowed to talk about. the challenge and the difficulties.
Right.
So this is where we should leave it, sweetheart, today. Right.
Beautiful.
Because I think what you said was just great and extraordinary, and so appreciate you taking the time. Really
Happy to do it. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are doing this. Melora, it's really good to see you. I think we did a women's group together or something like that a while back.
There was something. I remember meeting you too. Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
That was so great. You're so wonderful.
Yes, she is. Yeah, absolutely.
And Mollie, it's always a pleasure hearing you talk.
And Brian made a contribution
Brian.
in this part of the conversation.
Well, no, and she was perfectly fit in all this conversation about identities we just had before this. So the segment before was all about identities, and I think you illustrated that without using the word identity, which was cool.
Which is like what it is, the presence of distinction.
Yeah, it was like you totally presence the distinction of identities, which was perfect. So you nailed it. And
woohoo! I'm cured.
Difference between information and transformation.
Yeah,
is the ability to present something without talking about it.
Yeah, you didn't even say the word identity.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, honey.
Thank you, guys. Love, love, love. All right.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye, Mollie.
This has been a Gradients production.